I look at my generation. I'm 61. Most of the guys in my generation, not all, we became gun shy about the end times. There's several reasons. I won't go into that. Mostly, talk about globally, my generation has ignored the subject besides a few phrases here and there. Every now and then a pastor will shout out, and the great trumpet, and Jesus will catch us away, and everybody screams, and in 90 seconds that phase of the teaching is over. There's a little bit of that. My generation is offering the 20-year-olds very little understanding of what the Bible says on that hour of history. I am very troubled by that, because I believe we are in the early days of that generation. Now, a generation biblically can last 100 years. Biblically, in Genesis 15, a generation can go on 100 years, not just 40 years or 50. So I think we're in the early days of that generation. I believe there's not a prophecy. I'm not prophesying. It's just my conviction by observation of the Bible, the signs of the times. It's my opinion, but it's a very strong opinion. There are people alive on the earth now that will see the fullness of these in their lifetime. It may be the 2-year-olds, I don't know. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Things could speed up or they could slow down. Maybe it's the 2-year-olds, but I believe they're alive right now that will see the fullness. Maybe it's their children and it's slower, a little slower than I think. Maybe it's a little faster. Because Malachi chapter 3 says when the Lord comes, he comes suddenly. The scenario speeds up suddenly. It picks up an acceleration, and we're already in the early acceleration of the biblical signs of that generation. So I don't know when he's coming, the day or the hour. Maybe a little further, maybe a little sooner than I think. But I know this: it is not too early to start training the next generation on these 150 chapters. It is not too early to start establishing the 20-year-olds in this part of the Bible story, the biblical narrative. They may be 60 or 80, training their children when it happens. I don't know. But I know this: on my watch, I'm not handing the baton to the next generation biblically illiterate of these very important subjects. Because this teaching is politically incorrect in the church, but I don't care. I've had preachers say, I go, I don't care. I'm thinking of the 20-year-olds. If they don't know where this is going, they will be so much more subject to fear, deception, offense, confusion, compromise. By the grace of God, let's give them the clear storyline. And again, many of you are in your 20s. Maybe you're in your 60s or 80s when it unfolds, and this is to train you so you can train your children. I don't know. I don't really care. All I know, it's not too early to start being intentional and being systematic about this subject. Because you don't get it in a seminar or a semester or a summer at Bible school. It takes time to grasp this. It's all there in the book. Paragraph E. There are some prophetic reasons why I believe we need to know what the Bible teaches about that generation. It's called the biblical signs of the times. That's a biblical phrase. They're signs. What are signs? Signs point to what's coming so that you're alert. The Bible gave us pointers so the church is alert. Why? So we're not captured with fear. We get where it's going. We have confidence. We have hope. We have stability. We have love growing. We're not drawn back in fear. We get where it's going. And we get why it's going there. We're not deceived by the counterfeit movements that have good terminology, but going in the wrong direction with deception. We're not offended. Jesus, how could you let this happen? I thought you were so good. My life would just get happier and easier. You must not be real. That kind of logic is coming forth in a new way in greater numbers than ever before. Because the people aren't prepared biblically with understanding. Signs of the times. Jesus gave a number of them. He said, when you see this, know you're in that generation. He meant that his people would know when they were in that generation. He said, I want you to know if you're in that generation that you're in it. The apostles gave some. The Old Testament prophets gave some. You know, at our IHOPU Bible school, or our ministry school, I gave a semester on the signs of the times. The ones Jesus taught, the one the apostles taught, the one the prophets taught. But I only spent 12 sessions or something like that, 11 or 12 sessions on it. You could spend a lot more time, but I just gave, it was just an introduction. Beloved, we need to grasp what those 150 chapters say. Same Jesus, same Bible, same gospel. It's not some contrary, peripheral, secondary storyline. It's the generation God talks more about than any generation in history. It's the most glorious and the most dangerous one in human history. It's the generation that God transitions the planet to the age to come through that birth canal, through that generation. It's a really intense hour of history. And I think there's people alive in this room that will see the fullness of it in their lifetime. Again, it might be the little guys. I don't know. Maybe the old guys. Might be all of us. Well, let me give you 2 spiritual signs of the times. There's a whole list. I mean, there's like 100. I'll just give you 2. Kind of a snapshot. Kind of make you go like, wow. It's kind of interesting. Then I'm going to give you 2 natural signs. Again, there's 100 of them. That's not a real number, but there's a long list of the signs of the times. If I was to ask you, give me 20 of the biblical signs of the times, what would your answer be? Most believers would go, I love Jesus. I don't really know what they are. I go, you want to change that in the next few years. You really do want to change that answer. They're not my signs, they're the Bible. I don't care what I say, I care what the Bible says. I'm a Bible guy. You're Bible people. Look what Jesus said. Matthew 24. This gospel will be preached in all the nations. Then the end will come. The word nations, all the nations, is the Greek word ethnos. Ethnic group. There's 3,000 plus ethnic groups.